I think we are live.
Welcome back to Everything EOS, the longest running EOS podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us for another week of news this week in EOSIO. Before we get started, please remember to like this video. It really helps us with the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, please vote for Cypherglass or a proxy that includes us. And before we get started, I do need to mention that Zach and I are just two excited members of the EOS community, and nothing we say should be interpreted as legal, financial, tax, professional, or any other kind of advice. We're just two people online sharing and discussing our opinions. And it's also safe to assume that any tokens we discuss, we also own. So Zach, what we got going on this week?
I just gave a sneak peek of some news for later, but the first thing I wanted to talk about is something you made a video on the Cypherglass channel recently, the charity poker event. I think EOSphere kind of took the lead on this for a charity called Humane Love. I think I have a graphic for this. You just did the video on it, so why don't you explain the 10 EOS and how it benefits the humane life?
Yeah, so there's a charity poker tournament tomorrow. This is a little over 12 hours, I guess 15 hours from now. It's at 12 p.m. UTC, and it's a charity poker event on Dice.One. Dice obviously built on EOS, and HumaneLove.org, the charity that this benefits, is also built on EOS as well. So it's pretty cool. The EOS community coming together to help an EOS charity while using an EOS DAPP. So if you want to participate, both Zach and myself will be playing. We'll be there at one of the tables. I'll be Rob.VR. Zach, I think, will be playing from Zack.VR.
Yes,
but you can come and play poker with us for 10 EOS on Dice.One tomorrow at 12 p.m. UTC, which is 8 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Who in the chat's going to be at the charity poker event? Because I know there's a lot of people that have confirmed. They have a Telegram channel. It's not up on the screen right now, but if you go to just search EOS Charity Poker, that's how I found it. But they have a Telegram channel. Highly recommend that. So I think I just want to send an open invite. I will try to be there it's 8 a.m. our local time, Rob. So we're getting up for that
early.
But I'll do it because I'm going to wreck everyone. I just want to put a message out there that I'm going to wreck you all, and I'm going to take all of your money. So
that's awesome. And I think it's pretty cool that even if we all end up getting wrecked and losing that 10 EOS, half of it does go to HumaneLove.org. So basically, you buy in with 10 EOS, half goes to Humane Love, and then the other half you'll be playing with. And I think you'll be able to rebuy for the first hour or so if you get knocked out, if you really want.
I think so too. So I'm not really. I've played Hold'em on Dice actually before. It's one of the few gambling games I've played because I actually enjoy Texas Hold'em. But this isn't tournament style, is it? Like you don't put your buy-in in and then you get like token chips basically. Like this is like cash games, like with like cash blinds.
I'm not actually sure. I think the overall, there'll obviously be multiple tables because I think each table holds like 8 people, 6 to 8 people. So there'll be multiple tables that people are playing at. And I think over time, it'll be sort of tournament style to ultimately pick a winner. But yeah, if you guys want details, you can ask in that Telegram chat as well.
I think everyone's going to play until they lose all their money, like until you get bored. Then you can go home with whatever you have left in your wallet. But I was just going to say, that'd be an awesome idea for any of these gambling platforms is to allow like tournament style poker where you have a buy-in and then you like play like tournament style because they're all basically cash blinds right now. That'd be really cool.
Right. That's a good point.
Let's continue on. We have some really exciting stuff. So I just want to get through this next. Well, this one's exciting too. EOS name service, another new domain or suffix.
Yeah, another new suffix. So if you want .de as in Deutschland for Germany, or it could be the last 2 digits of the word trade or something like that, the 4 to 9 characters are now available. So .de available on EOSNameService.io, along with tons of other awesome account names. So if you want, you can go and check those out. EOSNameService.io.
What's been your top selling suffix?
Ooh, I'm not sure. There are a lot of really popular ones, like .hodl is very popular. .x. .vr is a popular one, I think, because both you and I have those account names, so a lot of people like to get those. .ai, but all of them sort of sell, a reasonably decent amount.
Well, I actually just bought a EOS name service name the other day, Rob. Do you remember what it's for?
Yeah, for our Everything EOS Proxy, is that right?
Oh yeah. So we finally pushed we pushed it live. We've had a lot of requests for this. Okay. So the Everything EOS voting proxy is live. You can see it up on your screen. We have exactly 0 votes right now because I'm going to let it kind of get a couple dozen like anonymous people on here first before I you know, I vote with my HODL stack for privacy reasons, so I won't be the first one to vote, but we launched it. So it's eeproxy.info. Thank you to EOS Name Service. And we've only cast our first 20 votes so far. Man, I should probably backtrack. Our Everything EOS Proxy is being run by 5 different delegates. So it's myself, Rob, Peter Keay, Mark Woods, who, if you're at B1 June, you met him, really knowledgeable guy. And then Jonathan Peterson, who's in like every Telegram channel. You can mostly find them in our channel in Strong Block. But the 5 of us, we are basically the Everything EOS admin crew. I think John's the only one that's never been on an episode before, but he's like behind the scenes. He's probably in the chat right now moderating for the live stream. But what we did was we compared, let's see, the Brock Pierce proxy, the Starkness proxy, Colin Talks Crypto, Infinity Stone, Investing with a Difference, Luke Stokes, Blocks.io, EOS Nation, and Freedom Proxy. So we took all of those proxies and we compared all of their votes together, and we picked there were about 20 BPs who were listed on almost every one of those lists. So what we did today was we launched the proxy. We set up the multi-sig so that all of us will have to vote on this for it to pass, or 3 out of 5. And the exciting part isn't the top 20. The top 20 that we have voted for, I have them up on screen. Rob, why don't you read them out real quick? Give everyone a shout out.
Yeah, so we got a lot of great BPs here. We have Aloha EOS, Crypto Lion, Cypherglass, EOS Argentina, EOS Asia, EOS Authority, EOS Cafe Block, EOS Canada, EOS Nation, EOS New York, EOS Rio, EOS Titan, EOS 42, EOS DAC, EOS Detroit, EOS Sphere, Generios, Greymass, Shios, and Sweden. So these are just the top 20 picks, and then we'll have another 5 picks coming next week, and then 5 more the following week that all 5 of us proxy managers will vote on and then announce to you all. So if you want to go ahead and stake your votes to the Everything EOS proxy, our account name is EE as in Everything EOS. So eeproxy.info, and you can delegate to the proxy, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, so we're doing this in a way because the top 20 picks, nobody's going to argue with them. These are the BPs picked by almost every proxy. I think some of them were out of 9 proxies. I think the most anyone in the top 20 wasn't on was like 2 of the lists.
Yeah.
But what the last 10 picks are going to be tough decisions because there's more than 30 like really great block producers. So because there's 5 people on our initial multi-sig and part of our delegates to vote on this proxy, we're each going to have, we're going to talk privately and agree with this stuff. But next week, we're going to do a video, and each one of us are going to come on, and we're going to announce our proxy NFL draft style, and we'll give a nice little summary of why we chose that proxy and why you should potentially vote for that BP yourself, either from your EOS account or by proxying to eeproxy.info. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get into governance. I'm excited to be able to vote on referendums, actually. I think last night when I was testing the multi-sig out, I voted on the BP or the 1.8 upgrade that almost everyone's in favor of on the referendums. But like I said, we have 0 votes, so we need some people. Ooh, I think we got 20 votes already, Rob.
Hey,
we got 20
awesome.
votes.
Shout out to whoever it is out there watching the live stream that just staked. I think that's our first voter.
So we're going to talk a lot more governance on Everything EOS. We're probably going to have to do it on separate episodes. That way we're not spending a whole lot of time on these news updates because I've already talked a lot of governance. We have one more governance thing from Rob. You guys actually just voted and signaled for what is this exactly? This is the EOS 42 proposal.
Yeah, so this is it's essentially an update to the reg producer agreement, which is what every block producer, it's a command on the blockchain that every block producer signs, and essentially agrees to a couple things. You know, you agree to continue to upgrade to the latest software versions, you agree to produce blocks in a certain order and not act maliciously on the network. So essentially what EOS 42 proposed is an update to that reg producer agreement that just raises the standard of quality, it raises the bar for BPs a little bit more, and even adds in some actionable I guess disincentives to make sure that people, you know, stay on top of their game. So a good example is if you as a BP are in the top 21 and you miss 2 rounds of blocks, and every round is, I think, a little over 2 minutes-ish. So if you miss 2 rounds of blocks, your infrastructure just isn't working. all of the other BPs will actually be able to come together and temporarily unreg produce you, remove producer, and pull you out of that top 21 just temporarily until you get your infrastructure back up. Similarly, if there's, say, an emergency bug patch or something, and you can't be reached for, I believe it's a period of 30 minutes by any of the other BPs, they can also execute the remove producer command, remove you temporarily, so that the overall network is not, encumbered by a BP not maintaining their infrastructure or not responding to emergency messages in a timely manner. So ultimately, we are in favor of this. I know a lot of other people are as well. Seen tons of block producers, both in the top 21 and outside of the top 21, signal their support for this. So I think it's a great thing that will ultimately raise that bar of quality for BPs across the board.
Excited. There's big news. So we had a message in our Telegram channel this morning. So ITAM Games, great game studio. What are some of their, what's called Blue Dawn and Dark Town's their newest game on ITAM Games. Yeah. So they're in the process of a token sale. And they just, so they had their smart contract audited. They got a score of 98 out of 100, which is great. I love the ITAM's team. Everything I've seen from their games, although I don't have Android, has been awesome. But whenever Eon, whenever he posted this in our Everything EOS Telegram channel, was the first I actually noticed that they're using an ERC20 token as their native token.
Yeah.
And
so weird. I don't understand why they would do this. And I know that they came out when they were asked about it and they said that there are more exchanges, I guess, that support the ERC20 token. But it just seems like it's going to cost them or cause them a lot of headaches with integrating an ERC20 token from Ethereum into their EOS game. So I'm not really sure what the thought process is behind that.
Yeah, I asked some questions and I tagged ITAM in the Everything EOS Telegram channel at the link that keeps scrolling past you on the bottom of the screen here. I had questions of just why they chose that, how they're going to store their value after the sale. But the reasoning that we have up on the screen says it was because of certain exchanges weren't willing to list EOS tokens, but they could do Ethereum. And if that was the only reason, I don't have it up on screen, but Kevin Rose from EOS New York had a great answer. And he said, I want to know who those exchanges are then, because I want to have a call with them and get them onboarded on the EOSIO and EOS tokens.
Exactly.
Which is the right approach to go about it. But great team. I just wanted to kind of highlight, they did get a great audit score. So that means if you want to take part in the ITAM token sale, it's very secure. But I did want to point out the ERC20 token just to start the conversation. I'd like to hear more about it. I'm sure that they didn't make this decision lightly. So we'll see on that.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see a lot of in the future, hopefully, are tokens that sort of exist across multiple blockchains. So with ITAM Games, maybe you could have an account on Ethereum and also one on EOS. Obviously, it's not confirmed for them, but maybe they'll have a token in the future that can exist on Ethereum and EOS, sort of like the Bancor token and so many others that exist across multiple chains. It just seems to make the most sense from a business.
And I think so too. So there's certain things that they probably aren't ready to go public with or that they're working on. So we'll get to it further in the show also, that there's some new tools out for EOS to ETH cross inter-blockchain communication. Yeah. We had someone in the chat though, just wait for EOSFinex. They must have seen the next news in our notes.
Chat saw our notes.
You want to kick off what happened with the delay, and then I'll
so EOSFinex was originally scheduled to launch yesterday, July 25th, and they came out yesterday and said that they are extending the launch, which means they're delaying it for 5 days from then to July 30th. So it's still coming up. That'll be next Tuesday when EOSFinex actually launches. But the tweet was pretty interesting. It said, EOSFinex blockchain control with the liquidity of Bitfinex will be launching 5 days from now on July 30th. What did you think of that, Zach?
So I did one of those retweet with comments from the Everything EOS account, because a lot of people just saw the delay and were bummed out, but most people realize that software always has delays and 5 days is nothing.
Oh yeah. Well, it's better for them to come out and have a smooth launch where everything works than to just get it out, yesterday and have it be all buggy.
But I was hoping for it. It's July 26th. Yesterday was the 25th. It's Christmas in July. I got the Santa Claus Hawaiian shirt on. I don't know if you could see all the things on here, but I'm covered in Santa Claus because Christmas has come early, because I'm excited about this EOSFinex the more I've looked into it. I was excited about it when it first came out or was first announced back in February or March, But as it got closer, and especially in the last day or two, whenever I dug in deeper, let's get back to the tweet. The part that stood out to me is blockchain control with the liquidity of Bitfinex. So how does EOSFinex inherit the liquidity of Bitfinex? That's never been announced publicly. It's not in any of their blog posts. But it's saying, and you know they were strategic in this tweet because they're announcing a delay. So they didn't just like tweet it on the toilet or something here. So with the liquidity of Bitfinex, so when we first talked about EOSFinex back in March or February or whenever it was, I hypothesized them having a way to make it very easy for maybe the DEX order books to reach into a centralized exchange order books. That might be the case, but let me actually just
yeah, and real quick while you're pulling that up as an update, the EEProxy.info, that's our everything EOS proxy, already has almost 30,000 EOS staked to it already, just in the first 16 minutes of this podcast. So thank you to everybody watching that is staked to EEProxy.info. That is our official proxy account.
All right. I got this. I was on their GitHub and I noticed some stuff. Remember Sunbeam, Rob? Remember when we talked about Sunbeam?
Oh, yeah.
So this was open source.
Was coming from EOSFinex as well.
Yeah, it was open sourced a while ago. Why is it not highlighted? Okay. I have text. I think I have two different windows. Okay.
No worries.
All right. Sunbeam. So this is one of the WebSocket adapters for basically Node.js in your browser, or for the node in your browser. The parts that stand out here, the parts that I have highlighted on the screen. We designed the EOSFinex WebSocket API with both speed and compatibility in mind. It is a subset of the existing Bitfinex API version 2 with just some modifications for on-chain trading. Existing API v2 users should be able to start with only a small change to their existing clients.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Does that mean basically that all of the traders that are doing high frequency trading with bots and all kinds of stuff, which is a huge portion of the total volume, does that mean that they can just sort of with one quick change use EOSFinex as well?
That's what it sounds like. A flick of a switch, basically, cool. A change of a variable, and you're off to the races. So I really haven't had a whole lot of time to go over this stuff because I was doing it all afternoon leading up to this live stream. But their GitHub is super active, and without having time to dig into each one, it's hard to see if it's like for EOSFinex or for Bitfinex. But we could see here the EOS multi-sig contract has just been updated 6 hours ago. And then this one that they've been working on a lot is this BFXHF strategy written in Python. It basically, this isn't the one I was looking for, but this one allows like data and backtesting. It basically lets you import your strategies into your trading. Moonbeam, this is what I'm having terrible luck, but basically what I found is an interface that makes it really easy to program your own like trading algorithms, and it's like point and click kind of thing that allows you to do automated trading using Bitfinex. Now, I'm not going to sit here and click around in their GitHub because I didn't plan to talk about this specifically today, but they're basically building all of these tools for high frequency traders, and we know they already have a bunch of high frequency traders on Bitfinex, right? So if all they have to do is flick a switch and they could offer their liquidity on EOSFinex, why would they not? Right. Especially because there's a little known feature that we pointed out months ago that someone else pointed out in the EOSFinex channel was there's actually a rebate for being a market maker on EOSFinex. I believe it's 0.005% is rebated to the market maker for being the maker. And there's 0% maker fees and 0.2% taker fees. So it's the same maker and taker fees as new DEX. But the difference here is that they already have these legit traders on their platform. They already have users, and they could get them on these new order books where they can make even more money by providing liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting that they're going to give people an additional incentive with that rebate to actually come over and use EOSFinex. And the fact that it looks like they're going to have Bitcoin pairs against EOS, they're going to have all kinds of pairs that I don't think I really expected to see on EOSFinex. So it's super exciting, especially, we haven't really heard any of the specifics or the details around how you get a token listed on EOSFinex, but they have said that it will be open to anybody that's willing to put up collateral. So ostensibly, any EOS token should be able to get listed on EOSFinex. And then the question I think becomes, will they also be listed on Bitfinex as a, sort of a tribute of this back and forth liquidity that they're opening up here? So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone can come in here and just give massive liquidity to a lot of the smaller capped EOS tokens because there's just not markets for them yet. But what it will add liquidity for is all of your major pairs. So I have up on the screen Garbus. He's the admin in the EOSFinex channel and works for iFinex or Bitfinex. And he said Tether is going to be part of it at some point. So have we ever confirmed that? Has that been announced already that Tether is going to have an EOS variation? I think we did.
I vaguely remember somebody saying that. I don't know if it was confirmed or if we were speculating, but it looks like Tether will now be on EOS. They just launched on Tron and some other blockchains as well. So it's good to see that we're getting it as well.
And then I think you already mentioned it, but they're initially going to list all major pairs. And the ones that are quoted are EOS USD pair, Bitcoin USD pair, Ethereum USD pair. And then he followed up and said EOS BTC will also be on there. So these pairs that don't even include EOS tokens, Bitcoin US dollar.
Bitcoin US dollar, Ethereum US dollar, Ether US dollar, that's pretty exciting that is going to be on EOSFinex. And that to me signals, obviously just speculating here, but that signals to me that EOSFinex, in the same way that Binance DEX is kind of the future of the Binance platform, maybe EOSFinex is kind of the future of the Bitfinex platform to make this decentralized exchange that anybody can trade on.
Well, we didn't read the thing at the very bottom of the screen. It says, do you need to be a verified Bitfinex user? Because Bitfinex, you can't be from the United States. And if you want to use certain tokens, you have to be KYC'd. So someone asked if you have to be a user of Bitfinex, and they said, no. You're going to be able to log in just with scatter in your EOS account. No verification needed. Nothing in discussion. So that's big for obvious reasons. So I'm excited. Their GitHub repo is on fire. They have plenty of things that we haven't heard about that are kind of read between the lines here. And the Sunbeam looks awesome. I think we're going to get some amazing liquidity. So we'll be able to have full custodialship of our tokens in a wallet, but we'll be able to trade against like these Bitcoin pairs and Ethereum pairs like that were never possible before. And I know there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm curious to see which one they chose, and I want to hear from Peter Keay. I want to hear what he has to say about it once he digs into the code. But
definitely,
I'm excited.
It should be cool. So next Tuesday, EOSFinex is going to officially launch. That's July 30th. So it should be pretty awesome. And speaking of Peter Keay, I heard his voice on a video that LiquidApps put out today on something called LiquidLink. Do you want to tell us what this is all about? Because I'm not 100% sure yet.
This one threw me a curveball because I didn't think it was going to be out in time for this show, so I had to scramble to throw it in here. But let me pull up the tweet here. Where is it?
Wow, and Miss Cavs fan says 24-hour volume on Bitfinex, just so people know, more than $120 million of trade volume in 24 hours. So a huge amount of liquidity on Bitfinex could potentially now be on EOSFinex as well. So it's going to be an exciting week next week. So
last week, Benny, the CEO of LiquidApps, he just pinged the community and said, what chain do you want to see connected to EOS first? And the community actually chose Bitcoin, followed by Ethereum. So that was just kind of judging what the community had to say. But about an hour before we started this live stream, the official LiquidApps account made a tweet. Ethereum, welcome to the DAPP network. Allow us to introduce you to EOS. You two can communicate now and maybe help each other scale. And you guys just got to see the video. I'm going to switch over to the video that played on that tweet.
Hi, everyone. This is a quick look at a new feature. You can check out the code on GitHub. Let's run one single command in Zeus SDK. This will spin up an EOS node locally. You'll see that on the right. And a local Ethereum node on the left. With this command, everything goes automatically. We're going to see it fire up full history capability with DMUX, set up IPFS, and then spin up a local DAPP network DAPP service provider to facilitate communication between the chains. Our local DSP is going to deploy a contract on Ethereum. Then it's going to send a very small amount of Ether to an Ethereum address via LiquidLink. You can see the DSP activity and EOS transaction on the right and the Ethereum transactions on the left. Interoperability is here, now. You can start by downloading the Zeus SDK and exploring the code.
All right. So Pete explained it much better than I could, but basically this is a new service. It's built on top of something that we released back in April, which was xIBC, which is like cross inter blockchain communication, and that was read only. But what you saw in that demo video is read and write. So basically, a DSP node could create an Ethereum account, deploy a smart contract to Ethereum, transfer funds to other Ethereum accounts. It could verify funds on EOS, and they could see each other and interact with each other. So this is like step one of a long path here for cross inter-blockchain communication. And basically, Ethereum has the biggest developer community in the world. And we've seen different applications like Chainlink, how they've been proving with their Oracle services to be really valuable. I think they had like a Google or a Microsoft type announcement recently, because they're doing web oracles, but their web oracles require gas fees. Everything on Ethereum requires gas fees. So now what these Ethereum projects will be allowed to do is they'll be able to call like Oracle services that are feeless, because they're actually being verified on the EOS mainnet, but they're being able to be confirmed on Ethereum. So basically, you get the advantage of the feeless transactions on EOS or on Ethereum. I'm sorry, and for the decentralization diehards, you get to keep your base layer Ethereum, but you get the scalability and feelessness of EOS.
If somebody is watching that is less technical, what's the sort of practical application of this? Does this mean that I could run a DApp across multiple chains, or send value from one chain to another, or the use case is kind of open-ended at this point?
So this is a proof of concept. It's in alpha state right now, but it is ready for release. It passed all the bug tests, and it is basically you could basically interact between two accounts or more, however many accounts you want, between both blockchains, and they could read and write on either chain.
Okay, interesting. And I feel like that's gonna result in a lot of really creative dApps and sort of use cases of that functionality.
Oh yeah. So I'm looking forward to having some Ethereum developers come join us in Everything EOS, because this is alpha. I'm excited to see what the technical team with our team at LiquidApps comes up with, because they're a bunch of really talented people. As another reminder, Keay, he's also here with Everything EOS with us. He was the one on that video. He's still on track here to do the next set of EOSIO developer courses, which were over 600 students enrolled. I forget how many graduated, but I think we're up to close to 100 graduating. Wow. So that's all developers being onboarded, usually traditional developers so they're not starting from absolutely nothing, but now they are EOSIO developers because of the courses. But with those courses, they were limited because they followed the Elemental Battles tutorials from Block.One with some variations. But with the next series of lessons, which I don't have a timeline on for today, you could ask Pete in the Everything EOS channel. But they're going to dive into some of these LiquidApps services. They're going to dive into things like scatter.js and wallets and account creation and different things that you didn't do in the first series. And I think, I don't want to spoil it, but I think his project is building like a peer-to-peer like game where you like play against other users somehow. So that's basically the test project. At least this is what he said about a week or two ago.
That's pretty awesome. And as another update here, I know I've been saying it a couple times, but eeproxy.info is our Everything EOS proxy. We're up now over 44,000 EOS since we launched 30 minutes ago. So thank you to everybody out there watching that proxy to eeproxy.info. Pretty awesome to see the votes come in, and I'm sure they'll continue after this episode.
You saw real votes? I made a mistake. I didn't want to interrupt you. The 20 was how many BPs were voted for. I thought it was 20 EOS.
Yeah,
so it was still zero at the time.
Yeah, total proxy votes, 44,002 EOS to our proxy. So that's awesome.
I think I missed these notes, but I just want to call out Vitalik. Last week we mentioned it. He said he put something out about scaling their data layer on Ethereum with Bitcoin Cash. Well, if anyone knows Ethereum, have them give LiquidApps a call.
Absolutely.
We could be that data layer. I think Dan even made a tweet after the Vitalik article suggesting EOS. So hopefully we can make this happen. But we need the Ethereum developer community to obviously be open to it, and that is that. Moonlighting's coming. Moonlighting, that's my last note. Moonlighting is coming. The DAPP, EOS VC backed DAPP with 700K users. I keep seeing Ramon teasing it, but not like saying explicitly it's coming out very soon. But Ramon, I'm on to you. I'm just kidding, but I'm excited for Moonlighting. It's going to onboard 700,000 new users onto EOSIO. And they're going to free account creation, which is like kind of the DAPP network tie-in. But it's just a huge win for EOS in general. I'm super excited. It's going to be the most users of a decentralized application ever. Oh, I think. Do you know of anything more than 700,000 users?
Oh, no. I mean, if they can onboard all of those users into their Liquid accounts and have them actually using EOS, that will be the most used app by users of all time. I think the most any DApp has ever gotten was CryptoKitties. I think it was 19,000 users over 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, so I just pulled up a thing for if anyone missed it. This is back in April whenever the funding was announced, but a freelance job market, 700,000 users to EOS. Just wanted to give that as a refresher because there's so much happening. Another big project. You've been a fan of Everipedia since like day one. And they announced their prediction market back, I think in like December unofficially. Yep. But they finally launched it on the Kylin testnet. Have you had a chance to mess around with it all yet?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't had a chance to dive in, but it's pretty exciting. This is PredIQt, PredIQt, now on the Kylin testnet, which is one of the EOS testnets along with Jungle. That essentially means they are testing the IQ prediction market right now. So if you're not sure what a prediction market is, I can walk you through it. So essentially, you're placing a bet, you're placing a wager on whether or not something will happen in the future, and you're trying to predict that correctly. So this could be something like an election. Will Donald Trump win the 2020 election? And you can vote yes or no. And if you're correct, you can actually win a little bit of money. Similarly, it can be things that are much less consequential. It can be, will the price of EOS be above $4.50 on July 28th at this time? Or will the price of Bitcoin be above or below 10,000 on this time? Or even things like announcements. Will Block.One make a public announcement before the end of July about the voice release date? So you'll be able to go on to create a prediction market for pretty much anything you'd like, assuming there's an oracle available. And looking through the predict sort of overview, it looks like LiquidApps are going to be one of the oracle providers that they bring in to grab that data, so that LiquidApps will basically go out on the DAPP network with all these different oracle services, pull the price of Bitcoin, for example, from a bunch of different exchanges, and that's how they'll determine who actually won that wager on that specific prediction. So I'm excited about it. It should be cool.
Yeah, I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. So now that we've talked about it, I'm definitely going to play all three of these bets. So I think you read out the three different bets they have. Right now, everything's binary. So you can't have a prediction market where it says, like, who do you like best? Rob, Mike, or, and why am I drawing a blank on your other brother? Ben. If I said, who's your favorite Finch brother? That's your only brothers, right?
Right, yeah.
Mike and Ben. Great guys. But you couldn't have that prediction market, or you couldn't, I guess you're not really predicting anything there. Whose birthday is first amongst the three of them if you wanted to predict it. I don't know. But if you have three options, you can't do it. Everything's got to be yes or no, or like true, false. That's how the markets are set up right now.
Exactly.
But this is an MVP. I think it also said that I don't even know if they're using oracles to determine these at this moment with the MVP. I'm not 100% sure of this. Miles Snyder could probably fill us in on Telegram if we're wrong. But I think it said 3 out of 5 multi-sig is set up to determine the markets right now.
Okay, interesting. So I imagine they'll swap those multi-sigs out with the different oracles, like those from the DAPP network, once that actually goes live.
That was one of the cool things about the predict market is I think whenever you create the market, you decide how the outcomes are determined, and the people placing bets on it, it's transparent up front. So it might say, we're going to use a LiquidApps Oracle to do this, or we're going to use an Oracle from Provable, or we're going to use this multi-sig.
That's awesome.
So they're basically leaving it open to the users, which is great because it gives everyone that flexibility.
Absolutely. So if you guys want to try that out, you can go to predict.app. That's PREDIQT.app, A-P-P, and you can try it out on the Kylin testnet. That's pretty cool. And Everipedia, it looks like, also just hired a new chief product officer. I think this was today. Daniel Liebeskind, I believe is his name, originally from Decrypt, which was a blockchain product experience consultancy where he's been building several distributed apps on both the Ethereum and EOS blockchains for several years. So congrats to the Everipedia team and to Daniel for joining the team over there as the new chief product officer.
Have you, we talked about some of the upgrades to the user interfaces on Everipedia. Have you been doing anything on there lately? Because I haven't, admittedly.
I tried out the new interface, and I got to say, it's at least 100 times better, the editing interface, than it was in the past. In the past, you know, if you wanted to add new info boxes, you'd have to click, wait a couple seconds, click again, then enter it. Now it flows like it should. It works like a Web 2.0 website where you can log in. Everything's very fast. The editing flow makes sense. So huge props to the Everipedia team, specifically UI and UX, for that entire redesign. It really is so much better.
I think Everipedia is kind of flying under the radar. I know, like, I'll probably be more likely to use the prediction market than Everipedia as a user, but I haven't contributed anything because I'm just a value sucker on that one. I haven't contributed.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at Everipedia, they have millions and millions of unique users visiting the website every month. They're just obviously not logged in. They're just viewing those pages and consuming that information versus editing. But there are a significant amount of editors as well.
Yeah, I really like the rich text and the images on them. So I do like it for information, but the prediction market's cool. Didn't they have other applications they kind of like teased back in December whenever they teased the prediction market? I can't remember.
Yeah, I forget what they were going to be. They teased like 4 different applications, a prediction market, and a few others. If you know what those are, drop them in the chat. But interesting, Justin says, Daniel, the new CPO at Everipedia, was also doing a lot to build Chestnut, which I believe was that EOS account security tool. Says he has a great resume. So that's cool. He has some experience in EOS already, Chestnut and those other DApps that it mentioned in his little bio. So that's a good add to the team.
We've never talked about Edna on the show, I don't think, because I'm not super familiar with it. Are you familiar with it at all? I mean, I know what it is.
But yeah, I'm vaguely familiar with it and what they're trying to do with like genome sequencing and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Someone in the chat just brought it up that they're going live soon.
Awesome.
I don't have a ton of information, but I will relay that message that they're going live soon. I've been seeing them talked about a lot more recently. One guy in a chat I'm in, he's on the project and he's speaking highly of it, which you kind of expect. But I've been seeing more chatter about it in the Everything EOS channel. So that's something that I think is, because my wife's a scientist, probably too. But it seems like a cool project and it makes sense to own your data. So check that out, guys. I'll give that project some love because I know we've never talked about it. So check out Edna. Not investment advice, though. It's just advice that it's an interesting project.
Yeah, maybe once they go live, we can bring somebody from the team on and talk about how you can actually get paid for contributing your DNA, because that's pretty interesting. And transitioning out here, Justin says that Everipedia is also considering turning themselves into a DAC eventually, a decentralized autonomous community or collective or corporation. And speaking of DACs,
how's that for a transition?
Oh, it's great. Thank you, Justin. He didn't even know this was the next segment. We have EOS DAC Factory. And if you all remember, when EOS DAC officially announced their candidacy to be a block producer on EOS, they announced, hey, we are going to be a DAC ourselves, but we're also going to eventually release tools to enable anybody to launch their own DAC. And now it seems like the first version of that, at least the sort of initial beta, you could call it, EOS DAC Factory, is actually here. So this is, I guess, a hosted DAC solution. Is that what you would call it, Zach?
I'd almost consider it like a concierge sort of thing, because it kind of it seems like it takes some of the nuances and complications out of it. So it's more kind of like with WordPress, where you could deploy it yourself on your own server, like most people do, or I don't know if most people do, or you could deploy it on WordPress.com and use their hosting and all of their tools. I think it's similar to that. And let me pull up the Steemit article. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but they're basically just wanting feedback from the community about a hosted DAC solution. So it'll allow people to customize the basics, token economics, branding, custodian configurations, and they're just looking for community feedback. Their price point was $100 a month, and they asked if the community thinks that's a good price.
That's awesome.
I think it is. I've actually, truth be told, I've been become interested in DACs recently, a lot more interested in it than before. So I've had like that reason to go down the rabbit hole, and I'm like still in the early phases of it. So I always like when I get interested in something, I want to like know like everything about it. So I just want to announce here that we're in the early processes. Justin Buck can confirm if this is definitely happening, but I think it is. Justin Buck, he hooked me up, got me in touch with Luke Stokes and some other guys from the EOS DAC team, Michael Yeats, and there might be 2 other guests as well. They're still unconfirmed, but we're going to do a DAC panel here on Everything EOS, and we're going to talk about why DACs, how to get started with a DAC, because that's kind of where I am. Is I really want to do this. I believe in it. I want to build out a technology-based organization where decisions are made collectively. But before you can even start like deploying the code and running the code, you have to. There's a lot of thought involved with your custodians, what they do, the token economics of the token, how the token's used. There's stuff that's even outside of what DAC Factory can provide, at least from some of my ideas. So. In that process, I realized there's not a whole lot of great information on how to get started. There's some, but it's still more technical. And I think I want to be kind of more high level of someone who is not probably going to have the technical expertise to do this themselves, but you don't really have to be technical to like plan out all of the economics and like how the custodians are going to work, how many there are, like, and I think they're building like a worker proposal system inside it. And I'm super interested in this stuff now. So I've basically... Awesome. I'm like in the early phases of a DAC addiction, but I just need pushed over the edge. And I think talking to Justin Buck more and having Luke Stokes and Mike on here, I think I'm going to be a DACaholic. And eventually I'll tell more about the DAC, the charity DAC that I'm kind of giving some expertise on. Let's just say, I'm part of. It's a nonprofit that's DACifying itself. It's gonna be really cool.
Nice, that's exciting. I can't wait to hear more about that.
Who else has some? So EOS DAC's like the most popular DAC because they build all the tools. What are some of the other big DACs? I know Genereos. They have a charity DAC also. I was researching them. Vig.ai. Shout out to them. I've been seeing them everywhere. I think they're giving out. They're like custody tokens for like promotion, basically, to help grow their DAC. Yeah. So like this is a pretty cool interface. This is Vigor. It's a stable coin. You could read more about it on your own. But they're basically using the EOS DAC DAC Factory toolkit here, like the early version of it, and they're able to basically run their DAC from a web browser, which is pretty cool. So besides them, I
saw campdao.com also. This was a decentralized Burning Man camp built on EOS. Yeah. So this I thought was pretty interesting.
All right. No one in the live stream wants to call out their DACs and let us know so we mention them. That's okay. So we're out of notes here, Rob. We have this weekend poker game tomorrow. I didn't want to mention it earlier, but I see Zane's in the chat. So we've been having some Twitter battles lately. We don't want to stir things up, but what do you say we get everyone at the same table and do a Zoom call? That's a cool idea. Let's try to coordinate it tomorrow. This is like literally just off the tip of my tongue. But I had talked in the EOSphere or the charity poker Telegram channel. I was asking how we're going to communicate, and everyone was on board for doing a Zoom group for every poker table. What do you think about doing a Zoom call? Let's coordinate our table and let's talk about some of the ongoing debate.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're not going to do it live. I don't think we should do it live.
Play poker,
no, we can't. We can't do it live. It can't be because that's not going to work. People will see the cards if we're sharing the screen.
That's a good point. Yeah, we'll figure it out then.
I want to do that Smash Brothers.
If you guys hop over to dice.one tomorrow, remember 8 a.m. Eastern or 12 p.m. UTC time is tomorrow on Saturday. So if you're watching this, it's Saturday. It's happening today. You can join us. Zach will be playing from Zack.vr, and I'll be playing from Rob.vr. It should be a lot of fun.
All right, so we're 44 minutes in. I think it's a good time. Unless you have anything else you want to talk about, I'll talk EOS all day.
Yeah, I think the last thing I would say, remember, go over and proxy your vote to eeproxy.info. Already, as of the end of this recording, a little bit more than 44,123 EOS. So shout out to everybody that proxied in 45 minutes.
Yeah, and after this week, it'll be in the bottom scroller, so it'll always be reminding you that we have a proxy now. And we're going to I can't wait to do this content on like government decisions and discussions. We're going to be doing a lot more panels with leaders like people like EOS New York, EOS Nation, people that are EOS Canada, really involved with governance. Because whether you're using our proxy or not, we're going to have more focus on this moving forward because it's a very important aspect of the EOSIO ecosystem.
Awesome.
But until tomorrow at the poker game, when everyone gets wrecked, I'm Zack Gall.
Rob Finch. And this
is
everything
EOS.
Press the like button. Leave a Go EOS in the chat. Go EOS.
Go EOS.
See y'all next time.
And I missed the button. There it goes. Later, guys.